Work from home revolution. People, welcome to Send It Rising Live. Today, the main story: Meta facing another antitrust challenge. WhatsApp and Instagram could be on the chopping block. Why is that? We're going to dig in. Trump's Truth Social app will apparently launch in February. That's what they're saying. There have been some delays. TikTok shares new data on the value of collaborating with creators on ad campaigns. Obviously, there's a lot of money to be made in TikTok. For those of you that have heard me on the show, my sister has done quite well. Chelsea Smith Cosmetics. Shout out. Twitter looks to extend its keyword blocking and mute options to more elements. After years of dragging, it's behind, let's say. Google will finally add left-handed support to Wear OS. Isn't that interesting how long that takes for those sorts of things to evolve? And last but not least, Google hired union-busting consultants to convince employees that unions suck, quote. Let's start with the main story of the day. Meta facing another antitrust challenge with the FTC's case against the company approved for the next stage. This from socialmediatoday.com. Meta is facing an antitrust probe because the FTC is being granted permission to present its case against the company over its acquisitions of Instagram and WhatsApp. The FTC says they were specifically aimed at eliminating competition in the market. And that is an argument that I think has some legs. WhatsApp and Instagram are massively popular. And the fact that Meta is gobbling up all of these companies simply because, not because the technology per se is that inventive, but because they have that much market share. When you own such a huge, it would be like Uber buying Lyft, is what it feels like to me. Back to the article, the ruling is a reversal of the federal court's initial finding in June, which saw it dismiss the case against Meta. In the June filing, quote, the FTC has failed to plead enough facts to plausibly establish a necessary element of all of its Section 2 claims, namely that Facebook has a monopoly. Yeesh. So as we move forward here, I think that this space, especially within the eyes of the court, is new. WhatsApp, Instagram, for a lot of the folks that are making judgments, these aren't 20-somethings. I think if you're younger, you realize just how powerful Instagram is and how much of the slice of the pie of the market share that they have. And so antitrust cases against Meta, Google, I think are going to continue. And it is clear to me that there is somewhat of a monopoly that these businesses have. Because again, if Uber just purchased Lyft, that would be as clear as day to us that they're taking over. It would be like if Meta acquired TikTok now, that TikTok is blowing up. They have huge market share. That being said, as companies like Meta are getting beaten up by the FTC and folks like them, I think it's fair to say that there is a lot of room for growth, i.e. TikTok, etc. So the Instagram acquisition was in 2012 and WhatsApp in 2014. I think because it was so early in the sort of mobile photo sharing space that it didn't seem at the time like such a big deal. But now we clearly see just how incredibly important it is. The article continues, Meta would actually be glad for the presence of TikTok at this time because the success of TikTok shows that Meta doesn't have monopoly control over the social media market. Isn't that interesting how a competitor coming into the marketplace can actually help in FTC-related court filings and cases? Trump's Truth Social app will apparently launch in February. Former President Donald Trump's new social network, Truth Social, will launch on iOS on February 21st, according to a listing on the App Store. That's President's Day, if you didn't know. Subtle move there. This from TheVerge.com. According to them, it's looking like a Twitter clone. Again, the Truth Social premise is that they are going to allow people to say whatever they want to say. That, of course, has limits. When people threaten violence, It'll be interesting to see what Truth Social does. If there are militia groups that are coordinating attacks on Truth Social, what will they do? Will they stand against violence, or will they simply allow anything goes? Will they be completely libertarian in the speech, i.e., can anyone say whatever they want? This, of course, runs into when is it a crime to coordinate acts of violence, that sort of thing. And so a team of lawyers will be required. Back to the article, the social network's Twitter-like design is almost assuredly no accident. Twitter was Trump's favorite megaphone for years until he was permanently banned in January of 2021. In our previous episode, we talked about how there is a new CEO at Twitter, and that CEO is being very aggressive about getting rid of folks on the platform that they disagree with, i.e. folks that have gone against the terms of agreement, terms of service, etc. Many anti-vaxxers, things of that nature. When Jack Dorsey was doing it, he got a lot of flack. We don't even know how to pronounce the last name of the new CEO of Twitter. And so he is able to do things that Jack Dorsey was unable to do now. There's a good chance that this new CEO will find himself in front of Congress, just like Dorsey. And so he knows that that's kind of part of the job description. Back to the article, it's unclear if February 21st is also when Truth Social will be available on the web or Android. We're going to find out. But fascinating. Regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, it is clear to me that the social media wars involve red team, blue team. And Twitter and Facebook are considered blue team. They're considered democratic institutions by a lot of the folks on the right, and we will see how freedom of speech plays out when you have anonymity online. The criticisms are clearly going to be that threats of violence, right-wing extremism thrives on these sorts of platforms. Time will tell. Socialmediatoday.com article, TikTok shares new data on the value of collaborating with creators on ad campaigns. According to the article, the key to winning on TikTok is aligning with the platform's content trends. I would agree with this. This isn't something that I've been doing. It's something that I probably should start doing more of. I'm not doing the trending things on TikTok. I'm continuing with my social media news. If you want to follow me on TikTok, please go to Send It Rising. You'll find me there. I do social media news similar to what you're hearing here, but obviously in bite-sized chunks. Taking a deeper look, according to the article, into how brands are seeing success with their efforts, the platform examined over 2,800 brand campaigns to glean new insight into how partnerships with creators help to improve results. So obviously, there's data here that is making the argument that working with creators can make brands more successful. This is obviously an advertisement for TikTok. That being said, brands that do collaborate with creators do see higher engagement rates. Because obviously people are interested in the personalities of the creators, and working with them to sell products makes the most sense. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Sorry about that. A little cough. Twitter looks to extend its keyword blocking and mute options to more elements. This again from socialmediatoday.com. Twitter is looking to give users more control over the content they see in the app with a new expansion of its keyword blocking and mute tools. Twitter explains, we're working on some updates so keywords you've muted and accounts you've muted or blocked stay out of a few more places. This is very interesting. I think when Twitter is criticized for allowing bad content, racist content, inaccurate content, misinformation, etc. on feeds, that they aren't doing enough, and their response to that is, well, you can mute those accounts, and we're going to do a better job of making sure that the muting extends to various places online. According to the article, this is going to provide users with additional assurance and control. So the loophole, the article continues, is that Twitter is now working to fix beginning with events. So there's some issues they've been having in the past where keyword blocking doesn't apply to all elements. So technologically moving forward, the idea that you can block content on places like Twitter. Moving on to Gizmodo.com, after years of dragging its behind, Google will finally add left-handed support. So how funny is that? It's that it takes years and years and years, and this is majority privilege in its element, which is to say that when you're part of the majority, there are certain benefits, and this is an example. So if you are right-handed or left-handed, if you're right-handed, you wear the watch on your left, it's made for you. But if you're left-handed, that's frustrating, and they just simply will not take the time to help you out. But 3.5 years of complaints, and finally, there is a feature that's helping out. Just goes to show, being in the majority definitely has privileges. That's an example of one of them. Google hired union-busting consultants to convince employees that unions suck, according to ArsTechnica.com. For years, Google has attempted to kill employee-led unionization efforts under an initiative codenamed Project Vivian. The words of one senior manager, Project Vivian existed, quote, to engage employees more positively and convince them that unions suck. It is funny to me how companies that have vast wealth, always in the early days, consider themselves different than the companies that came before them. And then as time elapses, they find themselves doing the same things that all these giant companies end up doing, busting unions, giving the top earners in the company massive raises. You would think that a company born not that long ago would see these things, but it feels almost like the natural evolution of gigantic corporations is this. They just get into union busting eventually. So Project Vivian appears to be Google's response to a surge in worker activism that appeared in 2018 when thousands of employees walked out in a protest of the company's response to sexual harassment complaints. 5 employees ended up being fired, 2 were disciplined. They filed a complaint with the National Labor Relations Board, according to the article, etc. So this is just how it goes with large companies. I hate to say it, and I'm a positive thinker, and I love people. This is just kind of how it goes. As companies get larger, there's this tension. Let's recap the news of the day, shall we? Meta facing another antitrust challenge. It is possible that Instagram and WhatsApp could be split apart from Meta. Unsurprisingly, of course, when you gain enough power, these are the sorts of problems that you have. I think that Meta owning WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook, there's a pretty strong argument that they've got their fingers pretty close to a monopoly, if not already. Trump's Truth Social President's Day, we're going to see, and I'm definitely going to cover that in the future. It's going to be interesting to watch the dynamics. For those of you trying to guess what my political affiliations are, I like to see the left and the right as 2 legs of the same human being. So when I see people adamantly on one side, I always think to myself, it takes 2 legs to walk. And this is a very unpopular opinion. Many people don't like it. They want me to pick a side. But I do see the creature, which is humanity. And the way we move and the way we've moved in the past, it isn't the best way to move. It's not the most graceful way to move. But left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot makes a lot of sense. If you look historically at the way cultures have moved forward, they do this. They go to the left and to the right and to the left and to the right. And it just so happens that that's how we move as well as one body together. Let's love each other, shall we? TikTok shares new data on the value of collaborating with creators on ad campaigns. There's huge benefits to collaborating with creators on ad campaigns. Everyone knows this. Now it's actually possible for smaller brands. Before, in the age of radio and TV, it was very expensive. Now it is not as expensive. Twitter looking to extend its keyword blocking and mute options. Good. There's an opportunity for us to censor the web from our perspective. It is always much easier when individuals are given the capacity to censor their own content, which is much different than Twitter censoring it for you. When you can be the censor, then obviously it's simply a choice that you can make. Not much to complain about there. Google finally is offering left-handed support. There's majority privilege for you. And last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, Google hired union-busting consultants to convince employees that unions suck. This, of course, coming after a sexual harassment walkout that began in 2018. the back and forth between tech companies and their employees. It just goes to show that it is a human issue that we are experiencing when it comes to the large corporations gaining power. It's easy to demonize companies of the past, but we find with modern companies like Google that have just so much money, so much influence, that they struggle as well. It's a human thing, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for swinging by the show. 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for the interview. So we switched the format a little bit. If you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, or any of the other podcast platforms, thank you so much. I love you. Please tell somebody. Please share a link. If you really want to do me a favor, and the folks that work on this show, go to youtube.com/senditrising. Hit the thumbs up button. Leave a comment. Let me know you exist. I love hearing from you. I really do. If you can find the energy in your day to swing by that link and leave a comment, it would mean the world to me. I promise I will respond. Thank you so much for swinging by the show, and we will see y'all later. Bye, everybody.